Welcome to the Ghana ICT Hub, a partnership between MTN Ghana and the Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Communications and Digitization. MTN pledged to support Ghana's digitization agenda in line with its ambition to lead the delivery of digital solutions for Africa's progress. In fulfillment of this pledge, MTN Ghana has committed $25 million toward the realization of the Ghana ICT Hub project. The objectives of the Ghana ICT Hub project is anchored on the following: to create an ICT-enabled environment for human capital and ICT skills development, to develop an ICT ecosystem through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development, to provide a modern, state-of-the-art physical infrastructure to serve as a pillar for the digital Ghana agenda. The physical infrastructure, when completed, will provide 4,000 square meters of space with the following facilities: laboratories for technology training and research, innovation hub, co-working spaces for tech innovation startups, Tier 3 data center, conferencing facilities, offices and meeting rooms, commercial lettable spaces, gaming area, restaurant, ancillary facilities. The technology laboratories will be fitted with the next generation ICT equipment and applications to provide the youth of Ghana with practical training in Industry 4.0 technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, 3D printing, robotics, Internet of Things, IoT, advanced manufacturing techniques, cybersecurity, genetic engineering. The project also seeks to establish a complete ecosystem at the hub through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development. The ecosystem shall comprise of MDAs, technology companies, startups, incubators, research agencies, leading universities globally, foundations worldwide, to create a community. 1. The ecosystem community shall bridge the divide between academia and industry and provide solutions to challenges in the key sectors of health, agriculture, and educational sectors of the economy. 2. It shall also run an innovation program providing mentoring and networking for the youth in tech startups. 3. The ecosystem community shall establish an innovation fund to support startups, research agencies, and other entities in the ecosystem. MTN Ghana and the Ministry of Communications and Digitization are championing the Ghana digital agenda for Ghana's development. Welcome to the digital age.
Now,
back Kanokre. Susu sang kwai bia want to nam bia man in kwai bebre.
Mommy, you face can see about Kotoso. Pepoga, send me sika from Lemonade Finance. While Brian did the shit and let me £2.
Lemonade Finance.
Say they're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted a instant charges. Exchange waiting in so unbeatable. We should make promo code Dr. Like £10, $10, and $10 Canadian for the first transaction. What is send this guy download to Lemonade Finance.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us in Washington, D.C. for the World Bank Group and IMF Spring Meetings 2023. I'm Noriana Fernando, your host for today's event, Building Resilience and Reshaping Development, a conversation between World Bank Group President David Malpass and IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva. It has been 3 years since the start of the pandemic, and the uncertainties and risks still weigh on the global economy. The poor and the vulnerable are the most affected by inflation, the cost of living crisis, and slower growth. And the effects of climate change and the war in Ukraine continue to disrupt lives and livelihoods around the world. Now, these spring meetings are focused on these global challenges and how we can respond to them to promote growth, equity, and prosperity for all. President Malpass and Managing Director Georgieva will discuss these issues during the next half an hour. Now remember, you can share your thoughts on these topics at any time using the hashtag #ReshapingDevelopment. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn with simultaneous interpretation in Arabic, French, and Spanish. Now to kick off this week's public programming, I will hand it over to President Malpass and MD Georgieva.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are starting off the week of meetings of the World Bank IMF meetings, the IMF World Bank spring meetings, with a big agenda. We want to talk about the world economy, about the debt problems facing developing countries. But the overall theme is how do we get better outcomes for people around the world, and especially for people that are on the lower end of the income scale, people in developing countries and people in middle income countries and advanced economies that are suffering from lower incomes and from the costs of climate change for instance. And so that's the thrust of the spring meetings. And I wonder, Kristalina, IMF does a lot of look at the global economic outlook. We are worried about the slowness of growth now and the prospect that it might stay slow. What do you think, and what are the big challenges?
Well, David, let me first thank you for honoring this tradition for us to start the meetings week together. You're right, we are yet again assembling our membership at the time of high uncertainty. The recovery we so much are hoping for, a robust recovery, is still a bit elusive. Why? Because we do have a significant inflation problem. That means central banks have to continue to keep interest rates higher to combat it, and that is on the way of restoring the prospects for robust growth. We have seen that this rapid transition from low interest rates, abundant liquidity, to high interest rates and much less available liquidity has exposed vulnerabilities in the financial sector that made the task of policymakers even harder. So in that context, what we are projecting for this year is, despite the remarkable resilience of consumer spending in the United States, in Europe, despite the uplift from China's reopening, global growth would remain below 3%, as we projected it earlier this year. And what is more concerning, it would remain around 3% for the next 5 years. That does not give us high hope for meeting the aspirations of people, especially poor people around the world, and most importantly, poor people in poor countries. Let me stress 3 issues in that context. The first one is that this picture of growth is divergent. There are emerging markets that are doing better. But for frontier markets, for the poor countries, the future is not so bright. And in terms of income per capita growth, poor countries would remain below income per capita growth in middle-income countries. Dangerous divergence. 2, we have been wrestling with one crisis after another, one shock after another. And that has pushed on the back burden the longer-term agenda of structural reforms that are paramount to uplift productivity. And with productivity remaining low, the prospects for growth are low. And 3, the ropes that tie us together have become weaker over the last years. fragmentation is deepening, and what it means is that what has generated tremendous impetus for growth and prosperity over the last 3 decades, an integrated economy, is being negatively impacted. We have done research at the IMF that shows that just the costs of trade fragmentation can run as high as 7% of global GDP over the years. So these meetings are an opportunity for us not only to talk about the immediate priorities of restoring price stability and safeguarding financial stability, but also about the longer-term prospects of growth and how prosperity can be an achievable objective for the lower-income countries. Which takes me to you. How do you see that?
Exactly right. And as we look at it, the elements of growth into the future, it's important that there be more investment in small businesses, in new businesses, and that means a flow of capital. And a worry that we have for developing countries is the capital flow right now is out of developing countries. So for many of the developing countries, it looks like they're in a phase of decapitalization rather than recapitalization. That goes with your point that instead of having convergence, meaning people with lower incomes growing faster than people with higher incomes. So convergence toward a higher level, that's not happening right now. It's actually a divergence, and that's gravely concerning. That means inequality, that means fragility for countries, and we see more countries falling into fragility. One of the concerns with the with high prices now, high prices are being applied to food and fertilizer, and a concern for the poorest around the world is the farmers are not able to plant, or and if they don't get fertilizer, often they won't plant for the crop cycle because they know that their yields will be too low. And so an urgent need, and we've worked on this over the last 6 months, but it's still has room to come together, is that the fertilizer resources go to the people that can pay the most, and that means those farmers are providing the global crop supplies. And so that's a challenge. Right now, for example, wheat supplies globally are at a low level. China has substantial stockpiles, but most of the other countries have drawn down their stockpiles, and so that points to a period of strain on global food supplies. I wanted to pick up on your point about the trade fragmentation. So as we think about that, trade is vital to productivity within the world. People swapping goods in their village, within their country, and across borders is a way to add value, to create more productivity. And to the extent that that breaks down into regional blocks or protectionist blocks, that's a concern. And right now, that's the direction of travel for the world. As it looks to stop the globalization and to reverse it, the risk is that it will come out with unproductive structures, and that also will weigh on world growth. And I guess I'll finish on your opening point that just the move from very low interest rates, I think artificially low interest rates, and the capital allocation that went with it, meaning investors all over the world were making decisions based on the idea that it was 0% interest rates for a long period of time, low for long, and that misallocated the capital. So to bring that back to productive uses is really hard. If you say, well, we're going to keep the interest rates at current levels or go to a more normal levels of interest rates, that means losses for banks that had a duration mismatch, as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank. And so there's losses being allocated by the world system now, but we should keep in mind, if you just lower the interest rates back down, it won't solve the problem. What that means is that people will suffer from inflation. The dollar weakens, the inflation rate goes back up, and that hurts the poor the most. So I think there has to be a goal of finding a low inflation environment and dollar stability for the future.
Very much agree with that. Central banks do have a preoccupation to bring inflation down. And it is paramount because without price stability, there is no sound foundation for investments and for growth. Their job has become more complicated because of the exposure of vulnerabilities in the financial sector. That means attention has to be paid to financial stability. Fortunately, they have different tools they can apply to deal with these two different problems. They can fight inflation by keeping interest rates higher for longer, and they can provide targeted liquidity should there be a need to bring down risks to financial stability. What we have seen is a remarkable, rapid and effective intervention by policymakers, primarily central banks, but not only. Financial authorities, supervisory authorities, regulatory authorities. Once there was a problem exposed, they acted swiftly. And this is very different to what happened during the global financial crisis. So there is something to celebrate. We learned a lesson, we act on it. However, when we look into the future, the problem that you outlined, allocation of capital, it has to be recognized that without the confidence that productivity is going to go up, how does it go up? It goes up when there is effective investment in education, skills development, adaptability to changing labor market needs. It gets up when there is effective investment in research and innovation, and it goes into private sector performance. It doesn't stay locked into monopolies that only have access to these new discoveries. And productivity goes up when division of labor that trade provides is effectively energized. I do hope that as we have these meetings to talk about the immediate pressing priorities of price stability, financial stability, we will pay more attention to how the world can go into a higher growth path. I apologize.
This is vital to the world. Getting the growth rate higher is important for people's jobs. It's important also for the migration patterns of countries. You know, if we're in a world where people have to migrate to other countries in order to have access to capital, that is a challenge. And they're being pushed by climate change. They're being pushed by their own countries having domestic debt problems. And so that pressure is substantial. So I think there's an urgency to the policy changes. Now, I want to inquire on one specific area. As the central banks raise interest rates, they've described it as a goal of reducing demand within the economy. I think there really has to be much more awareness that the long-term solution is through much greater supply, and that means short-term financing for small businesses, for medium-sized businesses. right now, somehow we fell into a cycle, I think, over the last 10 years, where the central banks were buying long maturity assets. And that really fundamentally changed the direction of the world toward bigness. Governments can issue 10-year bonds. Small businesses don't issue 10-year bonds. And so one of the things I hope we could do is really have a clear view. How do you get back to a world where short-term financing is available to businesses? We're not there.
I very much agree with this, David. It matters to everyone. It matters a lot to emerging markets and developing economies. We know that in emerging markets and developing economies, if the small and medium-sized enterprises are suffocated, there is simply no way to generate the jobs a growing population demands from in these countries. So that question of how we think about financing, accessibility to finance for everyone, especially for women-led business, is something that the World Bank has researched for quite some time. This is again on the list of issues that got pushed down because of this shock upon shock upon shock. And I want to say we cannot finish this conversation without recognizing that one of these shocks, the senseless war in Ukraine, can go away by just a decision taken by the country that invaded Ukraine to stop the war. Why that matters? Why that matters what we are discussing here? Because one, this war has distracted the world's attention from many other pressing problems. This war not only kills people, it is pushing up food prices, you talked about it, and it is creating more geopolitical tensions, pushing down the ability of the world to work as one. So I want to recognize there is a problem there that these meetings cannot resolve, but it would help tremendously with the agenda we are discussing if it gets resolved.
It would, and the horror of the war is ever present. And as you know, it's the world's gone from the COVID pandemic to now this also horrible development and outcome, and lasting longer and longer than people had hoped. We've been involved, as you know, in helping channel world resources to the civilian sector of Ukraine as a maintenance operation, and we're also looking at the recovery side of the Ukrainian economy. We're talking in shorthand to an extent because we see each other regularly and often talk about structural reforms and the upside opportunity that countries have if they can find stronger fiscal policies, stronger domestic
resource mobilization. Yes,
that means taxes, but we look at systems to have a broader base for the taxes rather than higher rates, ways that allow the country, the people of the country, to have more economic activity. And so that's the daily chores of World Bank and IMF of how do we interact with Ethiopia, with Egypt, with Nigeria, with South Africa, countries that are looking for a direction, with Turkey, with I didn't mean to mention just a few, with 100 countries around the world. How do we work together really to find a path for the country that has better growth on the other side? And the challenge is the burdens keep adding up. The burden of debt, the burden of climate costs, the burden of the higher food prices, all of those add up substantially. So we're at a bit of a liquidity crunch for the poorer countries, and also this longer-term problem of where do you get growth. We know where it comes from, productivity from new investment, but the stars aren't aligned right now to achieve that.
Well, this is why it is good that twice a year we can all get together and then concentrate on what we can do by better coordination of our members and, of course, of our institutions. I want to bring an element of positivism in this discussion. Yes, it is a very difficult time. But if we look back in what we have achieved over the last 3 years, 3.5 years, it is a lot, David. One, we have managed to come together very early when the COVID hit. And collectively, the members themselves taking the appropriate policy actions and our institutions financing those that had no access to other sources of financing. That managed to bring the impact of COVID economically much further down than it would have been otherwise. I remember our first assessment of the risks of the COVID crisis was 10% contraction of the world economy. Didn't happen. 3.1 is not nothing, but it is far from 10% contraction. I remember you and I discussing how we can coordinate actions on financial terms, how we go together. Our very first loan was to Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyz Republic, 1 week after WHO announced the COVID pandemic. Since then, we have financed 96 countries. Never in the history of the IMF we have done so much for so many, and we have done that together with you. We have recognized debt as a problem. I want to give you the credit for being such a strong voice, including your latest blog, on behalf of countries that find themselves crushed by the burden of debt. We have called for the debt service suspension initiative, and now we are in these meetings, David, and I'm so very pleased we can tell our audience we are not letting our guard down on this issue. We are going to have the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable, bringing for the first time all creditors, traditional, new, public, private, with the debtor countries and with us, the key institutions, so we can sit around the table and find solutions to what otherwise can be devastating for countries. So we have done things together that would have been much less effective if we didn't have that platform. To everybody coming to the meetings, roll your sleeves, let's continue in that spirit of getting things done. And since this is the last time I have this pleasure of sitting with you at the start of the meetings, David, what is your hope for the future? What do you see on the horizon for our institutions? What is the wisdom you would like to pass to all who are watching and, of course, to the grateful me?
That's awfully nice, and I pick up the word wisdom. So I don't know if I can achieve that, but I'm going to share a little bit. I'm going to go from the small to the large. 4 years ago yesterday, I walked into the atrium here as president of the World Bank, and you were a mainstay of global development, then at the World Bank, now at the IMF. And one of our challenges was to try to find breakthroughs in countries. That was my hope. You know, we always had the vision of how do we get better outcomes for people in developing countries, but then we recognized that a way to do that was to have individual breakthroughs or regional breakthroughs, some new insight, whether it be in the area of currencies or of fiscal policy or of trade policy or of infrastructure development. So I'm still working to get breakthroughs. One of the ones we worked on early was Ethiopia. We saw that the dual exchange rate, they have an official exchange rate which is available to the few and a parallel market exchange rate that is very expensive for the rest within the country, and it has not worked very well. I I went to Ethiopia early on in May of 2019. You went, I think, in August of 2019, and we will again be tackling that in the Debt Roundtable and in our meetings this week to see if there can be a breakthrough, because the number of people's lives that are at stake is huge. I don't know, I didn't look up, but Ethiopia may have 120 million people. It's a large number and growing, and so creating a better future for them is both a macro challenge and then a micro challenge. Letting more imports and exports flow in and out through better systems is going to be vital for their growth and getting their living standards higher. So I wanted to start on, you know, a lot of what we've done over these my 4 years it has been on specific countries and regions. How do you solve problems in various parts of the world? But then that has confronted this giant macro overlay of the world of COVID, slow growth, rising interest rates, and the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. All of that conspiring in a way to give not enough money for any of the goals that we have for people in developing countries. So I feel good about, you know, it's been a very busy 4 years, and prior to that at the U.S. Treasury, working on similar issues at a very rapid pace. So I feel good about that, very good about the World Bank group, all of our entities, but also worried, I guess I'll say, frankly, about prospects for people in developing countries. There's not a good avenue. I like your point of optimism. We have technology, we have institutions that care, we have there's enough money in the world, there's enough capital in the world to make it work. But my concern is it's all absorbed into a small group, and it's not working right now, and it takes some fundamental changes in order to make it work. It's been a pleasure working with you through these 4 years.
I'm very confident that solutions will be found. It is a matter of will, and then you find a way. I always remember in the context of these conversations, when we have a very steep mountain to climb, what Nelson Mandela once said: impossible until it is done. And I really look forward to engaging with our membership during this week, David, engaging with you, with our partners at the World Bank. Because if we can imagine a world in which the tremendous capital, the wealth that is created, is put for the bigger public good, in which we open up opportunities for everyone to reach their full potential, in which we deal with the tremendous challenge of climate change, then we can say Mandela is right. All of these things that we discussed that are so difficult, impossible until they're done.
The great theme for our challenging week ahead. We each have 15 hard meetings. I don't know, you may have 25 hard meetings ahead this week, but with a clear goal. And so enjoy where you can. I'll try to do the same. And we're launching our week of spring meetings.
Yes.
Great.
And I can see that our gracious host is looking at us with this sign that says, your time is up.
Thank you for that fantastic conversation. Thank you, President Malpass, MD Georgieva. You have indeed provided us with some insightful context on the major issues that will be on your plate this week. And with that, we come to the end of this event, but there is more to come. You can watch this replay as well as other events throughout the week on live.worldbank.org/spring meetings 2023. We hope you've enjoyed enjoyed hearing from our distinguished guests today, but please continue your comments online with the hashtag #ReshapingDevelopment. We would love to hear from you. I'm Noriana Fernando, and thank you for joining us.
On the last day of March 2023, the government passed 3 tax bills, including the Excise Duty Amendment Bill. On the last day of March 2023, the government passed 3 tax bills, including the Excise Duty Amendment Bill, the Income Tax Amendment Bill, and the Growth and Sustainability Amendment Bill. What do Ghanaians have to say about these new taxes? Join me as I found out from people whether they support their government or not.
Well, I think there's more the government must do or can do to enhance the development of the country, because already there is an existing crisis here and there. So I'm of the view that the current taxes that is trying to implement, in fact trying to put in place, it will not help the citizens because we're already bleeding. So we want to plead with the government that they should rather look for other sources of revenues to sort of come on board again, to restructure the country again. But adding up to what is going on currently, I mean, it's quite ambiguous. They are doing well, but then we are asking that they should up their games so that at least they can also see to the needs of the citizen, because everyone is bleeding. There's so much crisis everywhere. Wherever you pass, I mean, people are complaining here and there. So we are pleading with the government. They shouldn't add up to our crisis, but they should rather leverage it or probably decrease it, and then the country will be a lively place to all, I mean, live and enjoy.
The tax is too much. It's too much. The government is taking too much tax on this e-levy, toll booths. Like, it's too much. Like, and even the money, if they get it, at the end of the day, we don't even know what they use it for. It's just MPs getting new car, the government going outside, and he's even going for loan. Like, who does that? Also, where the tax money, where they take go? Like, on the other day, it's too much, madam. That one day is too much. So what are you medias doing about it? Like we there, you know, if you do not, you know, them talk on their head. You talk and then we go they pay. We don't have a say. After we voted, we put them in power, and it's not like we can overthrow him. It's not possible. Like, so it's too much.
New taxes. So we the banner in case we the buy my papa bia and kabebwa. Na kamu find my papa bia there. Me to me the boy. Even if 2 moye no me di 2 by example 2 no so many years time so akra na ye gi 2 no minim se mo di ye bibi mo se mo di ye kwan no but still ye kwan no still den e kwan still za na ye kwan nye so ye ko an mo se possible enema nkofo ye den enya accident ndade nti se mo di beba na be ye bi papa e kwan ase no mo tuma di aya enu be boa ye nyina ba mo fanye bi papa na boa ye nyina na se reason behind them some di tax ni baba na tax ni so bebre kuye tax no dosu na mba hwe na aba like quantity be do some level be a ma ye nyina betuma tua na ye be mu proof e wo ma anka be boy
once I say government no nyom dia ba be boy kwan dia me support so once I be develop the country, because you in a country in the year, be developed country in the year, support. But once in developed country in the year, because if the economy like a year, so your choice they are also doing their best possible best to say if you buy the year.
Tax in the year, o say tax in the year, adibia unya, but o say adibia na Oh, fine. What I say? And to test in the education, but they are saying, let's say, Tobu to Kramoje, Tobu to the Biokramoyes, Kramoje, Tobu, what I say, and to test in the when you may be an also be a moditazo to so. Sanity.
Taxina, Omude for France, Eban. You want the background, you know, almost had a for France, Eban. No more to be there. Omutebi, Omudri, and who there. Yeah, you almost got to know no more. And yet, Omuye, the Muntina to about the Mao. Some Bama man I had a cosso. And then they say, Omuya, they are to about Mom say, Omunkotna. Every 2 minutes, a share Omunsa. Into Omundi Moye. Omundi Amoye. No, my bread.
These are what some citizens are saying about the new taxes. Others are of the opinion that the taxes are introduced to generate income for the country, while others too are saying that the government is imposing too many taxes on the citizens. This is Diaba Eugenia reporting for GhanaWeb TV.
And my oh my, that traffic. I can't wait to get inside and experience the fun everyone is watching in for. Now, join us find out what Easter also means to them.
Everything was good. We thank God. Yeah, it was great. But their food is so expensive. I'm trying to buy it. I am catching on to so my gate for instance, they are almost saying buy it. Gate for 50 cedis. So tell them to reduce everything.
Now Easter, what does Easter mean to you? How do you understand Easter?
Is it the resurrection of Jesus?
So personally to you, how do you understand it?
Easter is to celebrate God's resurrection and have fun, so that if he dies again, we shall bury him together. Yes.
Okay, so have you made any resolutions from this Easter celebration?
Dabi.
You haven't?
No. It's going well. It's going well. I just came, so I'm now coming to start to do something. It's only about the gate fee. Because it's a lot, that's why.
So what do you plan on doing here today?
Have a little swim with my friends. We have our small banku and chitobi, then we just,
Okay. So when we say Easter, what does it mean to you? How do you understand Easter?
It's all about church. It's all about Jesus Christ. The death and the, how do you call it? The rising of Christ. And that's what I mean.
Were you in church yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, so from what you heard at church, or from what you heard so far, what are you taking from Jesus' death?
I need to stay focused in my life. I need to know how to move, to do my things. Christ will be coming back. That's the whole issue about this Easter.
And yes, baby, I did. I'm and convinced it's who are. Ubema wenim aye di pimpan because se obeka se free there and the nyama to me consume ma wo.
The boss good Easter.
Ose.
Good Easter.
Easter. Oh, media Easter there. Media me jiremu bibia me jiremu.
Okay, so he is saying that there's hardship everywhere. So whether business is good or not, they'll just continue going on keeping on and believing that things will get better. He also doesn't celebrate Easter.
I've never seen a beach quite this busy before. But I'm excited to be here on the holiday.
Okay, so do you celebrate Easter?
Well, I was brought up a Catholic, and Easter is a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I am agnostic now, but I appreciate that this is a really important holiday for Christians.
I have an idea because I'm a Catholic.
Okay, so how do you understand Easter?
Well, Jesus died and rise on the third day. Yeah, that's what I know.
Anything you have taken away from the fact that Jesus came to die and resurrect the Father, all because of our sins? Anything you are living your life by?
Well, I try to be as a best version of myself, treat people as I wanted to be treated. Not necessarily has anything to do with Jesus or not, just try to be a very good person for my country, to my society. the kind of work I do require me to be a good person, because nobody would like to travel and meet a bad person. So yeah, something like that.
How are you celebrating the holiday today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Then how do you understand Easter?
Oh, Easter means it's, I'm not that much into the religious belief, but it's a good gathering day with family and friends.
Okay, so what do you plan to do today? What do you plan on doing today?
We're on a tour today with Kasami Tours, and we're doing Jamestown, we're doing the marketplace, we're doing all sorts of tour events, including here.
Okay, so I believe you're enjoying yourself in Ghana.
Oh yes, this is a week ago today I landed here, and I'll be going home tomorrow, but I'll probably be coming back during the rainy season.
Okay,
yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your stay.
Thank you, appreciate it. Have a good day.
It's a celebration there, and you say, use no be we and yes, was sorry, and that's your holiday. They never say Pierre cry. You should be one my to your bassy about Jenny Cacra. To me, no, my understanding is say, wow, we pay a bonnet and never Bintino. To pay a bonnet, my until last time goes on, we change from a never be an year, and now I continue with a good life.
Like Yajankwa, Ebe Wood, Ejiankwa, Ebe Pay a bonnet, Eswa a bonnet. And a chum like a day twice on a day twice with Damien Sanizon. What's a barbecue like a Benjamin Catra?
The two gentlemen believe that Easter is all about the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ, and it's all about the forgiveness Christ had for us and the love he had for us. So they are going to live lives that are worthy of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. You've heard it all and seen it all. Revelers are happy and celebrating Jesus Christ for sacrificing his life for the sins of mankind. Now, what does Easter mean to you too? Let us know in the comment section. My name is Abigail Johnson Boache, reporting for GhanaWeb.
Welcome to the Ghana ICT Hub, a partnership between MTN Ghana and the Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Communications and Digitization. MTN pledged to support Ghana's digitization agenda in line with its ambition to lead the delivery of digital solutions for Africa's progress. In fulfillment of this pledge, MTN Ghana has committed $25 million toward the realization of the Ghana ICT Hub project. The objectives of the Ghana ICT Hub project is anchored on the following: to create an ICT-enabled environment for human capital and ICT skills development, to develop an ICT ecosystem through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development, to provide a modern, state-of-the-art physical infrastructure to serve as a pillar for the digital Ghana agenda. The physical infrastructure, when completed, will provide 4,000 square meters of space with the following facilities: laboratories for technology training and research, innovation hub, co-working spaces for tech innovation startups, Tier 3 data center, conferencing facilities, offices and meeting rooms, commercial lettable spaces, gaming area, restaurant, ancillary facilities. The technology laboratories will be fitted with the next generation ICT equipment and applications to provide the youth of Ghana with practical training in Industry 4.0 technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, 3D printing, robotics, Internet of Things, IoT, advanced manufacturing techniques, cybersecurity, genetic engineering. The project also seeks to establish a complete ecosystem at the hub through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development. The ecosystem shall comprise of MDAs, technology companies, startups, incubators, research agencies, leading universities globally, foundations worldwide, to create a community. 1. The ecosystem community shall bridge the divide between academia and industry and provide solutions to challenges in the key sectors of health, agriculture, and educational sectors of the economy. 2. It shall also run an innovation program providing mentoring and networking for the youth in tech startups. 3. The ecosystem community shall establish an innovation fund to support startups, research agencies, and other entities in the ecosystem. MTN Ghana and the Ministry of Communications and Digitization are championing the Ghana digital agenda for Ghana's development. Welcome to the digital age.
Now, oh, me.
Obek Kanokre. Susu Sang Pine, Pia want to Nambia, a man in Quine Baby.
Mommy, you first can see my cotoso. Pepoga, send me sick from Lemonade Finance. While Brian did the shade and let me £2.
Lemonade Finance.
Say they're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted a instant charges. Extinguishing in so ye unbeatable. We should make promo code Dr. Like £10, $10 and $10 Canadian for the first transaction. With this send this guy download to Lemonade Finance.
The waterfall actually is a combination of 3 running streams, of which the main source is Ote.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is the stream that supplies the majority of the water falling.
The Ote.
Yes.
After climbing down 259 steps to experience the Mejope canopy walkway, we now have about 20 more steps down and a few others up to enjoy the Ote waterfalls. Mejope tour series here in the Volta region. This is People and Places, and we are doing this in collaboration with the Volta Regional Tourism Authority on their campaign Visit Volta, Experience Volta and Share Volta. Today we are at the Ote Waterfalls and we'll get you the details in a bit. Our tour guide is all the way up there, so we'll get to meeting him and continue with the conversation. My name is Wanda Amihegan. The water was so cool that we dropped bottles of water which had become too hot to drink in it when we got here. And within a space of 15 minutes, they were cool enough for us to drink. I'm going to take my shoes off and then dip my feet in the water while we have the rest of the conversation.
How is it?
It's very cold, but it's refreshing. Okay.
Hope you like this.
Yeah.
What's your phone?
Okay, sure. So, Daniel, please, let's talk the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
You have to
Ready?
join me here, if you don't mind.
I
You can
have to
sit here.
sit?
Yes.
Okay.
So, this waterfall, was it discovered, or it just happened that people started coming here?
It was discovered.
Okay, right here.
There is this hunter that discovered it, and he's called Zando.
Zando.
Yes. On one of his hunting expeditions, he happened to shoot at an animal that didn't die immediately, and then tried to run away from him, but it fell this way. So he traced it down this end, and then he find the waterfalls here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was he an inhabitant of?
Yes, a native of this community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It sounds a little like the Lake Bosunchi story. Yeah, but that's an interesting story. So the discoverer of this place is Zando.
Zando.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
And so the waterfall actually is a combination of 3 running streams, of which the main source is Ote.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is the stream that supplies the majority of the water falling.
The Ote.
Yes, but yes, Ote.
So where does it come from?
Well, the water bodies we have here are all spring waters.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Because of the height, there's no other running up here. So there are spring waters. That is why at the dry season, the water level reduces. Yes, because it can't spring out very fast. But in the rainy season, it springs out more. Yes. That is why the falls is a seasonal fall. It falls plenty at the rainy season. Yes.
And then it goes dry in the dry season.
In the dry season, but not entirely.
So there's always some amount of water.
There's always some amount. You are lucky. Yesterday we had a rainfall.
That's why
that
it's
is why
flowing a bit.
It is even this much.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we have a lower and upper fall. Yes.
I'm assuming this is the upper one.
This is the upper one. So this water flows again down to the lower one. Yes, which we may not be able to do today. So we'll skip it.
Some other time when we come here.
Yes.
But people actually go down there, right?
Yes, they do.
How easy is it compared to this
well,
place?
if you want to do both the upper and the lower, then it should take you the whole day.
Wow.
Yes.
The whole day, as in from morning?
From morning to maybe somewhere in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yes. Because the descendings and ascendings are not easy. Yes. You have also to eat so much and have energy. You have to be prepared for it.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So you can say it's only for the very strong.
Very strong, but the fainted can also do gradually.
I like that. I like that. So the faint-hearted like us, I mean, those who cannot go all the way.
Yes.
Daniel says you can still try it. I mean, but gradually.
Gradually.
So you can still give it a try. There's no harm in trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I would say it's a very nice place. You can also swim, but unfortunately, because of the rocky nature of the place, you couldn't make deep pools. Okay. Yeah, that is why sometimes at the rainy season, where we have much of the water, you could only float on it, yes, or play in it. But from here, you could have natural shower.
So you can just stand under that and
have your shower. Yes, very refreshing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And these insects in the water, you say they are not harmful, right?
They are not harmful, but whenever they realize the water is muddy at certain points, they run there to make it clean. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Right. So how often do people come here?
Well, it's seasonal though, but weekends are free time for visitors.
So yes. People come here more often
during weekends.
And holidays?
And then holidays. Yes, holidays. We've been having so many people. Unlike the past Christmas holidays, there were so many people here. A lot of them. Yes.
I see. So this place is a fantastic place to just come, sit, have some breeze. If you want to snack, you can play music, you can just sit and relax. He also mentioned that you can stand there and just get the water flowing down when the water is a lot, you know. So just try visiting the Ote waterfalls. One more thing, what does Ote mean? Which language is
it? Ote is the name of the stream anyway, but it is derived from our dialect, Sideme, which means Sideme.
Sideme.
Yes, okay. Which means it doesn't dry.
Oh. Okay.
So the main word is Oriti. It doesn't dry.
It's also one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Oriti. Which
and
means
then so
it doesn't dry.
It's been what do they call that? Diluted to become Ote.
Ote.
Right.
Yes. Oriti.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's sell the Ote waterfalls to Ghanaians. Why should anyone visit Ote waterfalls?
In fact, anyone who would want to come here, we would welcome the person. It is not difficult descending down here. Rather, it is welcoming and breathtaking. Yes, you can come, relax, and read your books as well. And feel free, have your shower, you refresh your body. Yeah.
You heard it for yourself. But how much would anyone have to pay, adults and the little ones, if they want to visit this place?
Well, adults are now paying 30 cedis because it's a package now, I should say so. So adults pay 30 cedis. Tertiary students pay 20 cedis. That is those with valid ID cards. And the lower primary schools pay 5 cedis.
Okay. So 30 cedis for adults, 20 cedis for tertiary
students
with an ID card.
Yeah.
And then
10 cedis for second cycle.
Lower, okay.
And 5 cedis for
5 cedis for lower primary.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. See, very affordable. I'm sure you can afford it.
Sure.
30 cedis, 20 cedis, 10 cedis, and 5 cedis. So save some money and come and visit this place sometime. I can tell you on authority that you have fun. So it's not just the waterfalls, it's also the experience of descending down to this place. And then the whole canopy walk experience up there. So from down here you can still see the canopy walk up there. So it's a package. Try, make some time and come and visit. But thank you, Daniel, so much for telling us about this place and for making time with people and places.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
And I'm sure, as always, you also had some fun. We wanted to do more, actually go further down to explore the lower waterfalls and then other caves which were down there, but we were too tired. So at this point, we decided to go back up, and this was something most of us dreaded. We made some stops along the way because some of us were obviously not fit enough to make this journey back at a go. So after all the fun and adventure, we finally made it to the top. And I'm so glad that you could do this together with us. I, for certain, had a lot of fun. So you should try to make some time and come here to experience the Ote waterfalls for yourself. This is People and Places. My name is Wanda Amihagan, and thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Welcome to the Ghana ICT Hub, a partnership between MTN Ghana and the Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Communications and Digitization. MTN pledged to support Ghana's digitization agenda in line with its ambition to lead the delivery of digital solutions for Africa's progress. In fulfillment of this pledge, MTN Ghana has committed $25 million toward the realization of the Ghana ICT Hub project. The objectives of the Ghana ICT Hub project is anchored on the following: to create an ICT-enabled environment for human capital and ICT skills development, to develop an ICT ecosystem through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development, to provide a modern, state-of-the-art physical infrastructure to serve as a pillar for the digital Ghana agenda. The physical infrastructure, when completed, will provide 4,000 square meters of space with the following facilities: laboratories for technology training and research, innovation hub, co-working spaces for tech innovation startups, Tier 3 data center, conferencing facilities, offices and meeting rooms, commercial lettable spaces, gaming area, restaurant, ancillary facilities. The technology laboratories will be fitted with the next generation ICT equipment and applications to provide the youth of Ghana with practical training in Industry 4.0 technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, 3D printing, robotics, Internet of Things, IoT, advanced manufacturing techniques, cybersecurity, genetic engineering. The project also seeks to establish a complete ecosystem at the hub through remote access delivery to facilitate job creation for national development. The ecosystem shall comprise of MDAs, technology companies, startups, incubators, research agencies, leading universities globally, foundations worldwide, to create a community. 1. The ecosystem community shall bridge the divide between academia and industry and provide solutions to challenges in the key sectors of health, agriculture, and educational sectors of the economy. 2. It shall also run an innovation program providing mentoring and networking for the youth in tech startups. 3. The ecosystem community shall establish an innovation fund to support startups, research agencies, and other entities in the ecosystem. MTN Ghana and the Ministry of Communications and Digitization are championing the Ghana Digital Agenda for Ghana's development. Welcome to the digital age.
Now,
Obek Kanokre. Susu Sang Pine, Pia Wanton Nambia, a man in Quine Baby.
Mommy, you first can see about Kotoso. Pepoga, send me sick from Lemonade Finance. While Brian did a share and let me £2.
Lemonade Finance.
Say they're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted a instant charges. Extinguishing and so unbeatable. We should make promo code Dr. Like £10, $10, and $10 Canadian for the first transaction. With this send this guy download to Lemonade Finance.